Hello guys, I took the weekend off from reviewing the series, back with the greatest film in the Millennium series, which even though, with the exception of Godzilla 2000, I like the Millennium series, but that's still not saying much, because the films were very hit or miss and just average at best a lot of the times. Even though I think they're good, they're just... You'll see when I rank my top 30, very few of the Millennium films are going to come close to high on the list. But anyway, we get to see one of the most memorable introductions to Godzilla ever. We see the military getting ready for what we think is Godzilla's arrival. Nope, it's a typhoon, and we see a reporter covering the typhoon, talking about how the storm's big and getting bigger by the minute. As he's saying that, we see Godzilla starting to rise out of the ocean, and his first appearance is in a scene that's somewhat reminiscent of his appearance at Odo Island in the first movie. In fact, we find out later that, again, another reboot. This is the first Godzilla since the original movie, and we follow a Maser team. Everything goes wrong and all but one person survives, and she's kind of disgraced. This person is one of our main characters, and I love how she has to fight her way back to the top and fight for acceptance. The Prime Minister, after Godzilla's arrival, makes plans to build a weapon to fight Godzilla, and one of the things I like is we see this plan start with one Prime Minister and continue on to the next one, so there's a great sense of passage of time in this movie. Two of our other main characters are a scientist who specializes in DNA-based computers. I'm not going to go into explaining that, it's weird, but... And his daughter, they have a tragic backstory. His wife was pregnant with another kid, and there was a complication in the choice game to, you can only save one, save her or the baby. They both died, and the daughter, as a result, is very sensitive towards life, and she has this plant that she's overly attached to. Anyway, he begrudgingly agrees to be part of the Mechagodzilla program because they allow him to bring his daughter with them. And there's a funny scene where she's new in town, walking home from school with some kids, and they're not being mean, but they're kind of lightheartedly picking at her. And they're like, over there, that's where they're building the robot Godzilla. And she's like, I gotta go home now, this is where I live. And as she walks to the base, just the kids are really big-eyed. The girl, after getting put on a desk job, gets made part of the program to be a pilot for the new Mechagodzilla. And I love the montage that shows the process of things going on with Mechagodzilla in her training, how she has to fight to push her way to the top. This, again, this character is in very strong contention for my second favorite female character in the franchise. She's just that good, and our main scientist character is kind of taken by her, and he makes like a half-hearted attempt to flirt with her, and we see how she's rejected by the rest of her squad mates. And they talk a little, and it just leaves it at that. Later on, they talk, and like I said, we ultimately find out that these two... Again, I love these characters, because later on when they talk, the second time, we find out the backstory about the mother and the girl, how she's attached to the plant, and the pilot tells her, that's a nice plan. I had one like that when I was your age, but I got too attached and held on to it too long, trying to tell her, look, I know it's hard you lost your mother, but you can't hold on to the grief forever. And there's another scene where these two talk and have a great character moment later on. Godzilla shows up after they're doing a press unveiling that Mechagodzilla is ready, or Kiryu as they call it in this movie. And it goes to fight Godzilla. Well, because of the DNA-based computer, to back it up a little, they retrieved the bones from the first Godzilla and extracted DNA from the bones and use that as the basis for the computer. And it goes haywire when it fights Godzilla, and it goes on a rampage and destroys the city. And there's one scene I love where it walks through a building before it runs out of power. And this Mechagodzilla has battery life 2 hours. And as it goes through the building, it powers down, and there's debris from the building on the suit, and you just begin to see it flake off. It's a beautifully shot scene. Mechagodzilla also has its dorsal spines even have a practical purpose because it can use microwaves to recharge it. Well, when Godzilla comes back, Mechagodzilla's repaired, and it also has a cannon called Absolute Zero that can freeze anything at a molecular level, but it's like a one-shot weapon because once they do it, it uses up about all of Mechagodzilla's power. Now, after the first Mechagodzilla rampage, the girl shaves her squad mates, and all but one begin to accept her. There's one point where he's making a big deal, and the others are like, why don't you back off? And a hat gets thrown at the table at her, and it's a Kiryu Squadron hat, and it's just them welcoming her back. Another scene I like, and this pays off, the scientist guy, he tells her about, hey, if Mechagodzilla beats Godzilla, I buy you dinner, but if Godzilla wins, then its creator owes you an apology, and I buy you dinner, and I'm still going to have to buy you dinner. Now, Godzilla comes back, and I like that we see a little more strategy in fighting Godzilla in this, and when Mechagodzilla comes, we get the single, for my money, the single best choreographed, or arguably the single best choreographed fight scene in the movie. I mean, Mechagodzilla and Godzilla are just trading blows. The blows are head-on. Even the editing's perfect, because there's scenes where Mechagodzilla will jump over Godzilla, and Mechagodzilla has a long tail it can use as a weapon. For once, finally, it took 3 iterations of Mechagodzilla to figure out we need to give him a nice-sized tail just like Godzilla. In the fight, again, it's just incredibly awesome. Mechagodzilla runs out of power. They have to recharge it through the spines, which blacks out the city, but in the process, they have a control error, so the pilot has to get into a hatch on Mechagodzilla to control it from the inside. The fight goes to the morning, and Godzilla gets a hold of one of the jets, and the one that it is the pilot that still doesn't like her, and he's telling her to fire the Absolute Zero system. She charges the cannon up, physically attacks Godzilla so the pilot can be freed and be able to eject, and they fly into the water. And even though this isn't the best CG, I still think it looks incredible. As they splash in, the Absolute Zero cannon activates, and you see this awesome design of the ice, and from the shots that are farther away, it looks really good. It's only the close-up when it shatters that it begins to show it's not so good. And the ice Godzilla breaks through, and when he breaks through, he has a huge gaping wound in his chest. And Godzilla returns to the ocean, and Mechagodzilla rises up with a damaged arm. Keep these 2 things in mind, because the damage both Kiryu and Godzilla sustain in this film are going to carry over to the next movie, the only direct sequel in the Millennium series, which is awesome. I love the continuity between these two. This one and the follow-up Tokyo SOS are worth the price of admission for the Millennium series. The best of the best the Millennium series has to offer. Now, we get another post-credit scene. Hey, when you started doing this, Marvel, were you Godzilla fans? Maybe, just guessing, I don't know. But we get the scene with the pilot, the father, and the daughter. And he's like, well, I guess this means I buy you dinner. And she says, actually, we fought to a draw, so I'm the one that owes you dinner. And she goes to walk off, and the father's happy, and he high-fives his daughter, and he's like, I'm in. And I like it. It's just, you get 3 characters that have lost so much and just find each other. And it's a great story. You're legitimately happy for these people. They're likable. And even the pilot that's that big of a jerk to her, you don't end up hating him that bad to the point where, at least with me, when Godzilla has the jet, I still want to see her try and save him. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. I can't recommend this movie enough. It's hands down the best in the Millennium series. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit dislike. Next review, Tokyo SOS, and it's another review I look forward to doing. Over and out.